Cryptocurrency is the fastest appreciating asset class in human history.
Tokenization of financial assets, so digital assets, those are the two mega trends that are going to totally reshape financial services.
And with 2026 being the year that 3 big catalysts come to crypto for the first time ever,
I'm anticipating we're going to see trillions of dollars flowing into this asset class.
Here are the top altcoins I believe in to buy and hold in 2026. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot see the future. Just use today's video as a jumping off point. And of course, to determine which altcoins will do the best in 2026, let's understand the catalysts coming for crypto, specifically in these next 6 months, and what that means for certain coins. Well, number one, and it's no secret, crypto is a macro asset, and we are getting a big macro shift in monetary policy in 2026.
We announced that we're resuming reserve management purchases.
$11 trillion Charles Schwab legacy financial institution says the changing Fed policy may create favorable conditions for Bitcoin.
We had basically regulatory overhang, which I think was holding Bitcoin down significantly, probably to the tune of 50%, which is why we saw a big spike. We expected lower interest rates. We expected more money printing. We didn't get that. So when you actually factor all of that in, the fact that we're riding that kind of 90K range for Bitcoin really does make sense to me. And I think when you combine that with the fact that we're starting to see significant stimulus, we're going to see real quantitative easing. We're seeing quantitative easing light right now. The Fed is starting to buy its own bonds. And I think demand for government debt is going to fall significantly next year along with lower rates. So all of this bodes well for higher vol assets, including the likes of Bitcoin.
Now that's just one catalyst. One catalyst on its own is not enough. But when we start to see these catalysts lining up, for example, catalyst number 2, coming in early 2026, the largest piece of crypto legislation ever, the Market Structure Bill, the Clarity Act.
The Clarity Act passing would be like a starter's gun for ETH and SOL to run into trillions of dollars of value.
Is set to unlock trillions of new capital in this space.
I think the Clarity Act, if it gets passed and when it gets passed, is going to really open up the digital channels even more.
The U.S. Senate sets January 15th markup for Crypto Market Structure Bill, with ideally or hopefully a passing at the end of January or into February, as well as it's crazy to even think about, but the crypto ETFs, which were approved several months, if not years ago. We saw huge inflows into the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF, one of the reasons the price has gone up in the last 2 years. This was all while the major banks, literally the biggest banks in the game, while clients were allowed to ask about the crypto ETFs, banks weren't allowed to recommend. That all just changed in the last few months. Coinbase's head of strategy explains just how big and what a major shift this just was.
The crypto ETFs, the Bitcoin ETF and others, were the best performing ETFs launched ever in US markets, ever. And they did that, and this is really, really important, Talia, they did that without being able to be proactively sold by the army of investment advisors and brokers that generally sell these products.
The reason for the call today, John, is something just came across my desk, John. It is perhaps the best thing I've seen in the last 6 months. If you have 60 seconds, I'd like to share.
So it's a really, really important nuance. These were the single best-selling product in the world, and no one was allowed to make a phone call to sell it or advertise it.
And then, of course, the third big catalyst coming for crypto in 2026 is the head of the SEC, Paul Atkins, is on record that they are about to tokenize all of traditional finance. It's called Project Crypto, and bring all of traditional finance on the blockchain.
Are the major banks and the brokers out there today moving increasingly toward tokenization?
Oh, absolutely. And it's the way the world will be, here in the, maybe not even in 10 years, maybe even a lot less time, maybe a couple of years from now.
So that being said, here are my top altcoins, crypto coins for 2026. You will not believe the last one. Watch today's whole video, because first coin on the list due to the fundamentals is Ethereum.
Everybody's excited about stablecoins. Well, if you're excited about stablecoins and you think there's going to be trillions of dollars flowing into them, how do stablecoins operate? mostly on the Ethereum blockchain.
Because of something called the Genius Act, which passed a couple months ago, stablecoins were finally regulated for the first time in crypto history. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent expects this to 10x in the next few years, and the vast amount of stablecoins are on Ethereum. In fact, this used to be around 47%. Just a few months, it's now 53%.
So if you're bullish about stablecoins, you are by definition saying that you're bullish about Ethereum.
And here's the dirty little secret on why stablecoins, the growth of stablecoins specifically, as they are happening on Ethereum, how that helps the Ethereum price.
30% of all fees on Ethereum are actually stablecoin revenue.
So as this 10x's, the amount of fees, the amount of Ethereum being burned should 10x to match.
What does that mean for Ethereum's price?
And what could that do to price? Although I don't agree on Tom Lee's time frame. I mean, this does not have to happen in 2026. This could happen by 2030. So time frame aside, I do agree with him that if Bitcoin hits a certain level, based on past performance, Ethereum can hit these levels.
Well, I think Bitcoin's going to get to 250,000 within a few months. And if Ethereum price ratio to Bitcoin gets back to its 8-year average, that's $12,000 for Ethereum. I mean, that's a huge move. If it gets to the 2021 highs, that's $22,000 for Ethereum. But I think Ethereum is going to become the future of finance, the payment rails of the future. And if it gets to 0.25 relative to Bitcoin, that's 62,000. So I think Ethereum at 3,000, of course, is grossly undervalued.
Next coin on today's list that I believe will do very well in 2026 and beyond. And by the way, the further we get on this list, the more speculative, yet the more opportunity we'll get into these coins. But next coin on today's list is Solana. Solana, even though it's about 1/25th of the value of Ethereum, is already one of, or if not the most used chain in crypto.
So I think in terms of Solana's usage, we are already the most used chain. And that's not even by a little bit. Solana throughout 2025 is more used than the entire rest of the industry combined, times 2 to 3.
Also, as real world assets, RWAs, clearly a trend. As that grows, RWA holders on Solana have surpassed 125,000 holders as adoption continues to grow.
And when you think about value creation for blockchains outside of Bitcoin, when you think about the infrastructure blockchains and how they create value, what it is like any other tech platform. There's usage, which results in fee revenue, which results in, because these networks are user-owned infrastructure, that fee revenue ends up going back to token holders at the end of the day. Users means usage, means fees, means value.
Now, what's the next coin? And by the way, anybody that wants updates, daily and weekly updates on any coin mentioned on today's list, click subscribe to Altcoin Daily. It's completely free. It costs you nothing, but you will get an edge investing in crypto by staying informed, as well as you will get access to this information first.
Give us the inside scoop, Anthony. What is it about Solana that makes you so bullish?
Next coin on today's list, and they actually just fell out of the top 10. And honestly, 2025 was not a good year for this coin. I'm talking about Cardano. I like it. I like the community, but will it be big in 2026? Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson says with the recent launch of Midnight, which is a partner chain, that could 10x the ADA ecosystem.
People say, oh, well, won't this kill Cardano? No, this is what's going to 10x the Cardano DeFi ecosystem. Because at the end of the day, let's do the thought experiment. Let's think about it. Let's say Leo ships and Hydra ships, and we're better, faster, and cheaper. Great. What reason does someone have to leave Solana, and what reason does someone have to leave Ethereum? Because the transaction fee is 3% less? Okay. That's really going to get migration. That's going to get users to come over. They're going to leave because they don't have to leave. They could go through Midnight to Cardano, and they get privacy. They do something new and different. Midnight, my view, will be through hybrid applications. And if Cardano's first to upgrade Cardano applications utilizing Midnight, will be able to get all kinds of new users and experiences, private prediction markets, private DEXs, private stable coins. And I'm just maybe when you look at Bitcoin DeFi and you think about Bitcoin DeFi, maybe, just maybe, all those Bitcoin people are going to want to trade on a private DEX instead of a public DEX. I don't know. Maybe they care about that. Maybe that's something that's significant, meaningful to them. And maybe we'll have volumes in the billions of dollars of turnaround every single day.
Next coin on today's list, if you believe, like I do, that AI, artificial intelligence, the trend is not going away. There'll be dips along the way, but over the next 2, 5, 10 years, AI is only getting bigger. Next coin on today's list is the infrastructure for decentralized AI, BitTensor Tau. BitTensor just had their halving, which means they got doubly as scarce. We understand what happens to Bitcoin 6, 12 months after its halving historically.
Don't forget, Tau BitTensor is built very similar to Bitcoin. 21 million fixed supply of 21 million tokens, a halving every 4 years. The only thing that's different is BitTensor, again, the Tau is the token, BitTensor abstracted away the incentive mechanism. So it's a very similar idea. Let's give incentives for the people who help us. So Bitcoin does that, gives incentives to the miners who validate transactions. But BitTensor gives incentives to people who come up with better and better AI models or whatever the problems are that the subnets are trying to solve. So it really is, it's like the Bitcoin of entrepreneurship.
And pay attention to not just what the institutions say, but pay attention to what the institutions do. Grayscale has just filed for an S1. Basically, this would be the first. This is registered with the SEC. This would be the first Tau exchange-traded product in the US. A few days later, Bitwise followed suit. Bitwise files for a BitTensor ETF. This is now the second Tau filing with the SEC this week, and notice how it's just at the end of 2025, actually now into 2026 to start the year. And by the way, if you're looking for a great crypto exchange to buy, sell, or trade these coins, I recommend exchange partner Bitunix or exchange partner WEEX. Link down below to follow along. You can trade coins, you can buy these coins spot, and in fact, a limited time, get up to $70 instantly on your first deposit. Will not last forever. Link down below. But I will say, while 99% of altcoins, and I will say even specifically AI altcoins, will not survive, just like the early internet days, most won't survive, I like that BitTensor is sort of the infrastructure because there's hundreds of subnets that are seeding the next AI startup.
About a subnet as a competition. Anybody can launch a subnet. There's a cost to register a subnet, but anybody can launch a subnet. And so there's now 128 subnets. And, I think the future of BitTensor is, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of subnets. And the owner of the subnet they set the rules, and essentially the world competes to win that competition. And so there's subnets that are focused on drug discovery, on predicting sports outcomes. There's compute subnets, there's inference subnets. And it's really exciting to kind of see all the different applications that are being launched.
Next coin on today's list, by the way, click the like button if you're getting value today. But 2 honorable mentions that don't specifically make my list because I can't invest in every altcoin, but that doesn't mean that altcoins I'm not invested in aren't doing big things. We cover these coins on the channel all the time. But XRP, as well as SWI, 2 altcoins that I probably honestly should have made the list. Definitely coins to watch in 2026. But a coin that I think is flying under a lot of people's radars is Ondo. Ondo is essentially tokenizing finance and bringing it on chain. So 2026, I believe, will be the continued year of institutions. Institutions came in a little bit in 2024 for Bitcoin, bigger in 2025. And of course, with the SEC tokenizing TradFi, Ondo is institutional grade finance, bringing it all on chain for everybody. And the news today is major announcements are coming for Ondo in 2026 on February 3rd of this year. World leaders, investors, policymakers are reconvening. They did this about a year ago in New York for Ondo Summit. I'll be watching and I will keep you informed as big announcements happen. And final coin that I think could be big in 2026, again, maybe these altcoins go to zero, especially the lower cap. You're taking on more risk. The lower, the smaller altcoins you go for, you understand the risk you're taking. But I think Proppy could be big. What is Proppy? Well, it's essentially real estate on chain. They're US licensed. Again, they're US licensed title and escrow closing. They're backed again by Coinbase, and they're bringing the real estate process, the buying, the selling of houses, which I think is only going to be a bigger talking point as we get to midterms. They're bringing it on-chain, tokenizing. If there's an altcoin that I missed, comment down below. We will be revisiting these coins and maybe a coin you comment down below in future videos. I will keep you updated through 2026 as good news and bad news for these coins develop, like all we see tomorrow.